Today he's going to talk to us about attracting and keeping your ideal customers, something that Chick-fil-A is quite known for. Let's give it up and welcome Jeff Johnston.
Thank you. Is it working?
I've turned it on, and so your left and right should roll.
Oh no.
There you go.
He's already covered most of the introduction. I would say that I'm an Arkansas native, grew up in Arkansas, Texarkana was my home, met my future wife while we were in high school in a French class. I don't know why I took French. Should have taken Spanish, but she went on and took 6 years of French, and she knows a little bit, and I know a little bit, but anyway, we dated for 5 years, and now I've been married forever and ever and ever. We both worked at Eastman Chemical, 25 years in Longview, Texas, and then I took over a chemical plant in Tuscaloosa, Alabama that we bought, and eventually moved to corporate, became Director of Safety, Health, and Economics for the world, and did that for the last 7 years of my business. I took an early out in '08 and opened a Chick-fil-A in Orlando in '09, stayed until Mr. King passed away at the end of 2014, had an opportunity to come back here to East Texas. We have one daughter who's a speech language pathologist, lives in the Louisville, Highland Village area. Her husband is an assistant principal. They're there in the business, trying to move to Malakoff. In the next couple of weeks, he'll become a principal there, so he'll get back closer to us. They have 2 kids, so we've got 2 grandkids. We're active at Green Acres Baptist Church. I'm a deacon and involved in all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much about me. We're going to talk about several things along the way, some of the global changes, some of the challenges that you're facing. It's kind of, you might think it's unique here at East Texas, but in reality, it's all over the world. We can't get enough people. We can't get enough customers. When I moved here at the end of 2014, 95% of our customer base came into our restaurant every day. This Chick-fil-A on Broadway in front of Lowe's is the same footprint that many of the other Chick-fil-A's are, but we have the largest volume of any Chick-fil-A in Northeast Texas. We're very, very proud having that number of people here. But you consider in 2014, 95% of the people came in to eat. Now roughly 90% of the people come by, pick it up, have it delivered, curbside, and. There's a lot of different things that we look at. So from a standpoint of trying to attract good customers, trying to attract good people, those are the things that we're facing. Chick-fil-A, what is it? Chick-fil-A started in Hapeville, Georgia in 1947. Mr. Truett Cathy with his brother formed a little restaurant called in Hapeville, Georgia, called the Dwarf House Grill. It was open 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, right across from a Ford Motor Company. On the other side was something called Delta Airlines. So they provided food and beverages for those folks for 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. Always closed on Sunday. Tragically, his brother was killed in a plane crash, and Truett carried on for the next 70 plus years, died at 94 years old several years ago. His wife passed right past him. She was 95 years old. But they started the company, 2 boys and a girl, grew a business from a family-run business located in a little small suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, to something that's nationwide. We're now in 49 of the states. We're opening in Hawaii, so that one is being built. Alaska's the last state. We opened in several sites in Canada 2 years ago, opened 3 sites in Puerto Rico this year, have another operation in Great Britain. So basically in the United States, still privately held. It's a very unique relationship in the fact that Chick-fil-A owner-operators, you don't have any equity. You've got a small price that you're paying if you're selected to be an owner-operator, but Chick-fil-A builds it, they equip it, you work with them to maintain it, and then they split the profits on that standpoint. That is done worldwide from their operations, as I said, since now we have grown, but traditionally nationwide. For many, many years, for approximately 68 years, Chick-fil-A was based on a fundamental principles of 3 things. Operational excellence, doing it the same way, the same process, each and every time, each and every restaurant worldwide. We want to have consistency. So if you've got a Chick-fil-A sandwich here, Longview, Texas, Seattle, Washington, Miami, Florida, or now in Puerto Rico, it would taste exactly the same. Other than the texture of the chicken, which could be slightly different, each and every time. It's cooked and battered and maintained and held the same way. Operational excellence, that's what we do best. Second part is second mile service. Sheridan works with us and works with our team to make the second mile service different at Chick-fil-A. We bring you your food. We refresh your beverages. Hopefully each and every time if you order something as a carry-out and it's a catering item, one of our team members is carrying it for you. And when you tell them, say, no, I've got that, hopefully they're going to say, no, it's part of my job. It's my pleasure. I want to take this out for you. And the last part of that pyramid is the emotional connections and the marketing, really what Sheridan is driving for us all the way across this greater area. But making it to the point that on a birthday, a celebration, an anniversary, somebody's in the hospital, what are you going to make different when they think about, I need to help somebody? They think about Chick-fil-A. We're trying to attract the best people. Not only the best people to be our customers, but also attracting the best people to be our employees, our team members, our leadership. How do we do that? We clearly establish from a team member standpoint, what are they going to expect you to do? If you work in a restaurant, how many of you have ever worked in the food business? Okay, maybe half, almost half. I had never ever worked in a food place. When I went through training in '09 and hired 74 people to run our business in Orlando, I hired 2 ladies that had worked at a Chick-fil-A, another guy that had worked in a Chick-fil-A, 2 people that had worked in food, so that was 5 people. The other 69 of us had never cooked a fry, never flipped a burger, a pancake, an egg, or anything. So we had to learn it all. But clearly establish expectations. What are you going to do each and every time so that you establish consistency? The accountability. What do we do to establish that? If you're told how to do it, when to do it, how long to do it, how long to maintain something, you can be held accountable. So we try to establish that up front. And then the reinforcement. Think about a time in your life when something went well. Did somebody come back and pat you on the back? Did they come back and give you something? They may have. Typically, when you think about giving that kind of feedback from a positive standpoint, it can either be social, pat on the back, a letter, a handshake, or tangible. Could be a Chick-fil-A sandwich. It could be a flashlight. It might be a boat, might be a car, might be a vacation. Those are tangibles. The psychologists, Dr. Ed knows a lot better than I, they will tell you that the feedback, soon, certain, and positive, or soon, certain, and negative, have about the same weight. It's producing it soon after that event, certain that you're going to get it every time. You're going to get some kind of feedback, neither positive or negative. So we're trying to provide that kind of reinforcement. The challenges, as I said, with COVID, our business, our customer base changed. We had to figure out what we're going to do to make it different for our customers.
Do it fast.
And do it fast. As you heard that? To do it fast. We were one of the few restaurants and one of the few businesses that actually benefited from COVID. Now, we worked our tails off, and corporate invested a whole lot of stuff to do that, but we had processes in place, something called a drive-through,
Yeah.
something called an app, and then we had this curbside thing. It has blown to the stage. Like I said, our business has grown from 85, 90% inside to 85, 90% outside because we were ready. Sheridan, talk about a few of the things that we do to reinforce our customers.
Yeah, so the Chick-fil-A app is such
Stand up. Thank you.
And I'll touch base a little bit more on this later, but the Chick-fil-A app is an amazing source. If you use the app, we know a lot about you. Just in sense of like, we can send a customer reward. So if you order delivery, if you've seen those little delivery vehicles running around the city of Tyler, we have the ability to send people free delivery. And something as simple as sending them free delivery just to tell them about this new service is such a key tool. And it's a new way of serving our guests. You know, we just introduced it in August. And it's something that Chick-fil-A has invested a lot of money and time to see how it's going to work. So I'm excited to talk more about that in a little bit. But I think when Jeff was talking about the team, if we don't have a good team, we can't serve our customers. It's just plain and simple. So I think Chick-fil-A has utilized hiring as a key to help our customers because we have such a high standards that we have to keep that in our team to serve our guests.
Thank you. When we talk about hiring, for us, going out trying to get a good customer or trying to get a good person, it starts right there being fundamentally truthful with them. I happen to be a Rotarian, and for Rotary, anybody know anything about Rotary? Mm-hmm. Rotary's got a 4-way test, and everything you think, say, or do is just the truth. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial and help others? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So when you look at those 4-way tests, think about the truth. The team members that work at our restaurant work very, very, very hard. One of the things that we had to look at, what can we show to them to be different? What can we offer them to enjoy their jobs? Some of the things that Sheridan does, and she can talk about a little more of that later, she'll do that. But we work with pastors, we work with youth groups, we work with families and neighborhoods. Over a third of our folks come from referrals, primarily internal, because our team members tell friends, neighbors, family members. We hired, one family was a homeschool student 5 years ago. Since then, we've hired his 2 brothers and sister. So a tremendous, some of our best hardworking folks come from that kind of environment because you look at how they do it, but they can work different hours than the traditional student along the way. Virtually, it's provided some opportunity with virtual learning. Even at the college level, people can become more and more available. We try to make it available to retain the events that we go through. We try to train them, provide them opportunities to grow, to expand, whether it be in Leadership Tyler, whether it be in various organizations in their church, various activities they work with, working with various groups for conventions and whatever they may be involved in, that they can be able to do that. We're in the middle of expansion with Chick-fil-A. One of the things that Mr. King and Sandra and Ed King had for many years, they had pretty well a monopoly. They were the only Chick-fil-A's in town. And then when they passed away, they split the 2 up, and Mr. Ike Easton has the one on Troop, and I have the one over here, and now they added the one in Lindale last year, also added one in Jacksonville, also added one in Palestine, also added one in Kilgore. One opens tomorrow in Marshall. And one opens pretty soon, probably next year, in Henderson. And we're looking at 1 or 2 more for Tyler in the next 3 to 5 years. So the expansion changes the way that we look at. But when we're trying to attract people, and when I say people, whether team members or customers, why would they want to come to us? And I ask you, when you think about when somebody's made you feel good, you're more likely to go back to that person again. I use it as a crutch. I'm not a good speaker anyway, but I was the dentist for about 2 hours this morning having a wisdom tooth worked on. So this whole side of my mouth is kind of bad. So that's my crutch, so I can talk about that. But what are we doing to make people feel, if it's a good dentist, I'm going to go back to that dentist. If they make me feel good now on the way down there, they did call me and said, hey, you might have known we've had some storms last night, and we have power, but our Wi-Fi is down, and we haven't got some connectivity and whatever. We may want to change your appointment. Well, they just moved it, pushed it back a little bit, and so that's why I barely got here in time today. But you look at the time that somebody spends to make an effort for you. If you're applying for a job, you're trying to build a team at your business, or if we're trying to build it at Chick-fil-A, we want to hire and attract the best people. We want those customers, as we call them, as Sheridan would call them, raving fans. Raving fans come more often. They pay full price, and they tell others about you. Mr. Cathy had a philosophy. He didn't do discounts. You paid full price, or he gave it away. He gave away a lot of food. He would find somebody in the hospital. He'd find somebody bereaved. He'd find somebody that was down and out on the luck. He was going to feed them. He was going to make a difference in their life, and he grew his business based on relationships. We try to do the same thing to the same situation, saying that my whole life has been built around relationships. When I got ready to retire from Eastman Chemical back in '08, I had a big celebration. I guess they were wanting to get rid of me. They were happy, and the CEO was there and a friend of mine, and he asked, Jeff, could you tell us in a few words what's different? What have you tried to do in your lifetime, in your 33 years at Eastman Chemical? I said, Mr. Brian Ferguson was his name. I know him quite well. I said, I've built my life around relationships. I've had the opportunity to work around the world at all chemical plants virtually on every continent in the world and meet a lot of people. But when it all comes down at the end of the day, it's not how many pounds of product we produced, or how many floors you've cleaned, or how many jobs you've created, or how many people you've trained. To me, it's the relationship. So I would say, I told him and I told that whole room of folks, hopefully I have touched you with a friendship, and we can look back and said something funny, some kind of relationship, good, bad, or different. We created a relationship. My boss, who was a executive vice president, was an attorney, worked for the FBI for a number of years, very, very, very devout, Church of Christ member, very strict. And he retired a few years ago, and he called me. He said, I wanted to tell you one thing. You touched me more in your retirement, going away speech or whatever you want to say than anybody about relationships. When I think about hiring people, when I think about bringing people into your customer, relationships is most important to me. It makes the difference. You want to talk?
Yes. So this year we've pretty much put a huge emphasis on retaining the people that we have in the restaurant. And we found it challenging to reward like our kitchen team. So we took our ladies in the kitchen to go get their nails done, and the guys got to go to Shoguns.
I got mine done too.
It was a fun day for me, it was a fun day for them. And then our leadership, we went zip lining, and then we do Christmas parties and t-shirts and stuff like that. But that has put a huge emphasis. Our team's happy, our guests are happy. So that's our leadership. And can you go over one slide? And then our team members, we did a party, I guess 2 Sundays ago. We all played softball. Randy's really good at softball.
Oh, I know, I loved it.
Chick-Fil-A scholarships are a huge one. If you've been into Brookshire or Walmart and you see the bottles of sauce, if you buy that sauce, that goes to team member scholarships. That's called that money return, which is a really cool thing. So we just are in the middle right now rewarding our team members. At our store alone, we did $17,000 in scholarship money, which is very impressive, and that was over for 11 people. So we still have a few more to reward, so I'm excited about that. And then we do like little parties every now and then. So if you retain your team, your guests will be happy as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of like behind the scenes stuff that we don't always get to talk about and share. I don't know if it's like Chick-fil-A doesn't like us to share it, but it's kind of a cool thing how Chick-fil-A is trying to be the most caring company in the world. You'll hear that all the time if you work for Chick-fil-A. It's like, okay, well, how do you do that? Well, for one thing, our catering guests are the people that are spending the most money. If someone comes in and we miss the cheese on their sandwich and they get upset, like, we're sorry, but sometimes we forget, like, the higher customer, the one that's, that's spending more money, how do we retain and keep them to be the customer? So that's kind of where my job comes in. I always send out a questionnaire to our guests. Okay, do you have a good experience? What can we improve on? It's all anonymous, but you may not know it from IP store might be different than our store. Like, what can we do better so that we're all can use it and that you will come order from us again? So a big thing that I've done this year is work on Chick-Fil-A Weddings. And I know that sounds kind of funny because it was kind of funny at first for me as well. But these are our raving fans. These are the people that they love Chick-fil-A so much they want to have it at their wedding. We have, by the end of this year, we'll have 27 weddings that we've done.
Did you hear that number? 27.
27.
This lady's turned so many heads that the corporate had brought 4 people down and spent several days with her to look at what she's doing. because other people are looking at that as a possible venue, another way that they can do that.
Yes, that is me. I was on a call yesterday with corporate. We did like a marketing call. They do them every year, not every year, every month. And you know, it's like they said yesterday, which is why they had me on the call, was, you know, you have your typical you're ordering, but it's like, where can you go the extra mile? Where is that potential business to go? Like, it could be like something like a football game, a tailgate. It's like, figure out where that business is and target it. I didn't know weddings would be a hit. I kind of just went to Bridal Expo just to see what would happen, and it's blossomed into this amazing adventure. And you can see the lights and the letters and all of that has blossomed. But these are our raving fans. Our first wedding that we ever did was they had their first date at Chick-Fil-A. It's really cute. And they, actually, Zach McClure is there. Sadie, if you know her, she works at Landmark, Tyler and Tyler. But yes, so that's been a huge one. It's been a huge blessing for me too, because this is one of my favorite parts of my job.
But again, that's that third pillar, that emotional connection in marketing. And you think about from a business standpoint, from an employee standpoint, from a customer standpoint, going the extra mile, doing something that stands out. And you think about a daddy that's got to pay for, or a mother, or even a couple that's got to pay for a wedding. Serving Chick-fil-A at a wedding, and that kind of process saves a whole lot more than a big price if you've got price any of the catering side.
And if you're getting married, let me know.
Yes, they have mouthwash.
There you go.
We do, yes. Okay, so this is kind of the back end of things on the app. So let's say you're on the Chick-fil-A app and you order curbside. And after you order curbside, you get your food, there's a little thing that pops up that says, how was your experience? Any of you have ever gotten that? Or you just had a terrible experience and you went to the website and filled out a complaint or compliment. So on our end, anytime someone fills out a complaint or compliment, it gets sent to our phones right away, which is very frustrating sometimes, because if it's a bad day, we're getting a lot. And Jeff is like, what's going on in the store? And I'm like, oh no. Okay, so I wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. So this customer, she said, I was missing a Chick-fil-A sandwich out of my order. So Chick-fil-A is all about second mile service, right? So that comes in, we see exactly how they ordered. Was it curbside? Was it drive-thru? Was it third party? Was it delivery? Okay, now let's figure out where's the blockage at the restaurant? Is it who's bagging the food? Is it the delivery driver not checking to see if that order was left out? So it's all about the steps you take to make it successful. So this comes in, the report comes in. You can see that they've had other complaints, and we can track that on their app. We can go to the app and see how many complaints they had, and see is it consistent? It's a consistent problem. And I'm not saying you need to build an app for your business. I'm not, but just it's showing you the second mile service that Chick-fil-A goes. So what we'll do at the restaurant when we receive this, we'll go down, see what Chick-fil-A already did. So Chick-fil-A sent them a free sandwich for their next visit, and what we'll do is we'll call them and we'll apologize for that mistake. If you called and you didn't get a call, I'm sorry. We try to call everyone, but sometimes it's a little bit harder. So we call the customer and we're like, we're so sorry. And then we have the ability to go in there and send them an additional reward to their app and they can use on their next visit. And we have the ability to send anything we want, and it's so cool because the customer is very surprised by that. Second mile service by just calling and saying we're sorry. I've talked to a lot of catering customers who are like, oh my gosh, like, wow, you called me. So it's all about going the extra mile and the extra step.
Two things I'd like to add to that, whether you're attracting team members or you're trying to attract customers. The reality states that we're all human. No matter how good you are, no matter how hard you try, no matter how long you've been in business, you're going to mess up. The measure for us of that success is what do you do to recover. If I mess up by hiring the wrong person, I have an opportunity to try to recover that person and make something real good out of it. The same thing with this person is, they've already had 2 mistakes on this person. We started looking at that at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Maybe they're a complainer and they're just trying to get some fast food or whatever it may be. So we kind of look at it that way, but we always treat everyone with honor, dignity, and respect, regardless of who they are. We want to do that. And so when we make a mistake, what are we doing to recover? Because guess what? if we screwed up and put the wrong kind of sandwiches in there or the wrong food, and we recover it by sending them some more food or either running it to them, we can recover that.
Have you ever at Chick-fil-A and you got like a free sandwich at the bottom of your receipt? I don't know if anyone's ever gotten that. Every 10 customers, I think it is. So when you fill out that survey, we take that super to heart. Because we put the scores up in the restaurant in this percentage, daytime, middle of the day, anyway, all the way down to the end of the night. As we can see, okay, this is where there's an area of improvement, and then we try to do that with our managers.
Okay, let's move on.
The Chick-fil-A delivery, which I talked about earlier, that's a new thing that we introduced in August. It's all about bringing the Chick-fil-A experience to your doorstep. It's very cool and it's very fun. But it's just Chick-fil-A's brand new way of serving our guests. I mean, if you haven't done it, try it. You can order right from the Chick-fil-A app, but.
And the point is, there has been third-party delivery folks forever. I think Patriot Foods or been here for maybe the first one in Tyler, and then DoorDash and Uber and several others have been added. We continue to use several of those, but we also have our own. About half of our deliveries are third party, and the other half is with Chick-fil-A. So you'll see our little cars. Ours are silver with red paint on it. The True Pieways are white with red or red with white.
And it's great because third party, we didn't have a way to vet the people that were picking up the food. I've had to call a guest one time because the dog drank a straw or licked the straw and I saw it and I was like, don't drink your drink. So this way our guests have background checks and so they know that there's quality people delivering the food. So this is another fun part about my job involving our guests. Like we're doing Christmas in July, and then the Easter Bunny will be in our restaurant tomorrow and Friday. I'm very excited and a little nervous because it gets a little bit busy, but we're really excited. I think it'll be great. And then here's some more things. Like you can see involving the app. We have a food trailer, which you saw with the weddings, but we also go to Chandler every other Monday and Troop every other Wednesday. So it's keeping those guests happy in those little towns that maybe even underserved, and that's why we go to them. They're in Troop today, so I'm excited to see how it goes. We also do a lot with the Community Salvation Army Food Bank. We just got done with our soup drive. We did 75,000 soups in over 10 years or something that we've donated to Salvation Army. And so those are always great things to involve our guests in. Okay, back to you.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just end up by talking about, again, we all live in an imperfect world. We all face a lot of challenges. We've tried to talk some about how we get team members, but we also talked about how we secure and retain guests, those raving fans that come to us all the time. I was telling Sheridan on the way here, I've got a couple that come to our restaurant every morning, 6 days a week. Oftentimes they'll come back either for lunch and or dinner several more times. Those are pretty raving fans. He's a retired superintendent of schools. She's an assistant superintendent, was also a principal. Sadly, she's battling stage 4 cancer now. She's in treatment, but called this morning, and they live over by Fresh, not far from where I live, but they're out of power. They said, hey, how do you do that app thing? We don't have any power, and if y'all are open, we need some breakfast. Well, I know he always orders a regular biscuit, no butter, egg, bacon, and cheese. She wants a biscuit with butter, egg, and bacon, no cheese, and then coffees. And so I ran it over to them, and again, making that emotional connections. They couldn't get out. They're in their 80s. I can't get out, so I went and opened the garage door for them, pull the release. He didn't know how to do that. But that's that emotional connections that we're talking about, making a difference in somebody's lives. And I'm thinking about when you're trying to hire somebody, we have a difficult time trying to hire people. We have a difficult time trying to retain people. I think about Mr. Turcath, who passed away now 5 years ago. He would never fire anybody. Who's had to terminate anybody in this room? Sadly, most of us. I hear the story by several people that worked with him that went to him and said, we need to terminate Sheridan. She's not doing the job. She's this. Mr. Cathy, every time sent the people out, said, well, what assurances can you tell me that the person that you're going to hire is any better than the one you're trying to get rid of? You've invested a lot of time, money, energy to get that person. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't terminate some, but also I think about some of those that I've terminated along the way. I probably could have maybe recovered them, like I've said, to show that I care, to show that there is some improvement and some other opportunities, because not everybody is a round hole, square peg type scenario. Not everybody can do everything. In my lifetime, working in the chemical industry and even in the food industry, we tend to promote one way. Well, you're working hard, we're going to make you a shift supervisor, we're going to make you an assistant manager, or whatever. That's not for everybody. We have at least 6 people in our organization out of 140 some odd team members. 6 of them are what we call subject matter experts. They're the best at what they do, but their speaking skills are not very good. Their leadership skills are nothing, and they just don't have that in their makeup. But boy, making biscuits or running a computer or doing whatever it may be, they're the best. So they're paid at the same level of a manager or assistant manager, but they've moved up the road being the best. And when we get new people in, guess who trains them? Those subject matter experts. They go through a series of what we call pathway, which is electronic training on the computers with Chick-fil-A. Then we have a check sheet, but we also assign them to work with somebody. So that when you get a chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, if that person's been there 15 years, as Andreas has with us in the back, he's the best in the back of the house. Or you get with Jeff, who just started, but I've worked with Andreas, and he's taught me to be one of the best. So our challenge to you is to reach out to make a difference by trying to find people that are employable by looking around all around you. We happen to be in an industry that is very, very difficult to hire people, because you look at the food industry, it's not the last stop. Very few people have ever worked in the food industry and are still working in the food industry. Michael Chastain, our general manager, director of operations, and it's his 35th, 36th year. He started there when he was 14. He's still there. I just took him and his wife, we did a Key West celebration. My wife and I took them and celebrated for them being with Chick-fil-A, 30 years with Mr. King and the last 7 years with us. But you don't have that many people that often. But I've got 2 ladies. One is our evening manager. Miss Rachel is in her 27th, 28th year, and Miss Carolyn's running our downtown operation. She'll finish 30 years this next year. That's unbelievable to love on those people, and because of this lady right here and the things she does makes the difference. So if I could give you anything to carry away from, show you love, show you care, make a difference in a person's life by saying, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, at the end of your career, how many bells have I rung by making a difference in their life? Not by paying them more money, because I can't pay everybody what they think they're worth. Hopefully I pay them more than the prevailing rate. We definitely do that. We try to reinforce them. We provide them Chick-fil-A meals and uniforms and the celebrations. But we also want to say roughly almost 70% of the people that we have right now, this is the first job they've ever had. That may be the same thing at your place. Wouldn't you like to go back and say, hey, mom, dad, when your son, daughter, brother, or wife, or husband comes to work with us, they're going to work harder than they've ever worked, but they're going to come away feeling good about it. They're going to be treated with honor, dignity, and respect, and they're going to go back and say, I learned something. Questions?
I don't have a question, but I do want to say that as a previous employee of Mr. Johnston here,
I'm Jeff.
and my husband currently being there, I was the catering delivery, And I got really sick with my cancer and everything, and they let my husband take over. And Randy's been with you now 3 years.
Randy is one of our strongest leaders.
But let me tell you, they do say thank you. And because of what I've seen in them in the last 5 years, we've instilled that in trying to do that with our cleaners. You know, our cleaner does a great job. We've gotten a compliment from a customer. We go and we get a Chick-fil-A gift card or something to give that person.
Thank you.
Because we're not as big as the other two, so we don't pay near as well, but we're small and we do try to take care of them. But they take care of their employees and their customers. And I can promise you, you go into every Chick-fil-A I've ever been in has been good. But I love Broadway Crossing.
Thank you, Miss Fran. Her husband, one of the hardest working individuals I've ever been around. You know, he and I are close to the same age, so there's not many people. I'm having my 50th high school reunion this year, and I'm looking for maybe 5 people that are still working. A lot of them are already dead and gone. I'm working because I love to work, not because I have to anymore. Yes, ma'am.
So it kind of reminds me of this, like a commercial for some human resources software or something. You know, like 94% of people think that company culture is critical to success of business. And they go, what is the other 6% think? I mean, it kind of reminds me of that to Chick-fil-A. So I was curious, you went from owning a chemical company, so your staff is, you know, highly educated professionals, to dealing with high schoolers, and that has to be an incredibly different management style.
Amen. Preach on, sister. Amen.
How did you transition? Because I used to work in catering sales, and I just did not connect very well with the employees, because I'm like, I told you that before. Why are you doing it? They're like, Donna, you kind of just get to like you. Their entire life, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear how you bridge that gap.
One of the hardest things for me was that adjustment, because as a global director, I dealt with doctors and lawyers. The health and safety and the doctors and occupational folks reported through my organization. We're all a team, so it's not I, but it was our organization, and I'm working with those kind of people all the time. Now I'm working with high school kids that don't really care if they come to work or not. You know, back then with the Eastman Chemical, which was part of Kodak for 74 years, you had 3 occasions and you get fired. An occasion is 3 minutes or more. 3 minutes or more. If you're late or leave early, 3 minutes, you're looking at a fireable offense. Nowadays, well, take me off the clock. I don't care. I'll go find me another job or whatever. So it is putting that appreciation for the person, not so much where their education level or whatever, but realizing everybody's a person is a big adjustment, and hopefully I've worked in it, but I work on it every day. One of the things that Chick-fil-A has changed is moving past just those fundamental 3 pyramids I talked about. 2 years ago, Chick-fil-A adopted a standard saying we're wanting to be the world's most caring company. It goes back to what I just said from a customer. What are you doing to make sure that customer is appreciated? What are you doing to be sure that that team member, that leader, when Fran's going through medical issues and all the problems that she and Randy had to face with that, to be involved and to show emotion and show the concern, because that's what we are. We're a family business. But part of what we have to do, you have to do as owners, operators, managers, whatever you may be, is realize each person is a person. Each team member, each supervisor, they have wants, they have needs, just like you do. The problem that I have is adjusting my expectations at a much lower. You cannot assume that they can do a spreadsheet. You can't assume that they can sign on to that computer and do this, that, or whatever. Okay, it's a computer course, you got to go back and do this and whatever. A computer, what? Well, some of us grew up with the Big Chief tablet and number 2 pencil, and that was the computer that I had in grade school. You know, it's a big change. But so many of our students, and then we've got the language barrier that we're dealing with. You know, Nancy and her organization does a tremendous opportunity for us as business owners. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for working with us to make that happen, because it's a partnership from that. Good questions. Not easy, it's something we work on every day.
With the kids, the younger ones, if we've built that relationship, like I know what they're doing in school, I know what they're studying and things like that, that has made them want to stay because they feel like they're cared about. And like I come in every day and I kind of say hi to every single one of them because they know I care about them. And then secondly, like working different jobs within the restaurant, so they know like, oh, I can work back in house. It's not separated. And I think that has built like a good culture.
Something sorry, just to add on to what y'all are saying, you guys are saying something like that we do on our staff too with our leadership team. You know, you're not just teaching people how to work, you're teaching them how to live. And because you're working with so many younger people,
Right.
you're teaching them how to work at their next job too. So thank you for bringing
Thank you.
good people to, you know,
Thank you.
as these people grow up in other organizations.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I think we're under the Ace Hardware umbrella, so everyone's familiar with their kind of the same sort of philosophy. We had an apprentice, unfortunately he left us because we didn't have enough hours right at the moment for his skills. But he got a review where the woman actually said, he even took out my trash. He even took out my trash.
Wow.
She made sure she said that. So that woman has called us since for more intense. We might be a little more expensive, but that's the key. She knows
Yes.
what she's getting, and that's.
Oh.
When they're more expensive, a lot of people don't understand, when you're hiring a company, office price, we have to pay workman's comp, we have to pay liability insurance, and all that. So if you hire somebody to come in and clean your company or build, and they get hurt, if you don't have someone that's got all that, you're gonna end up paying for all of that hurt and everything. You get hurt out doing your power washing, you know.
Well, that led me to a question. I was not going to ask it, but how do you review service companies as a franchise like that? How do you pick a plumber, electrician, someone to do the cleaning, or just the stuff that y'all can't do in house? Now, what's the process of that?
Each individual location is run separately. I have some flexibility on what I can do, but for instance, with food, paper, produce, bread, I'm stuck. I don't have any choice. But when it comes to power washing or the landscaping,
The AC company.
AC, electrical, I come back, some people are recommended that we do. If I know that
You have
Sheridan's.
accredited businesses that your managers
Yes,
use?
right. So each location can decide what they want to do, and so we do. I know Mr. King had used the same landscaping crew for 30 years. We don't use them anymore. Well, we sat down with the landscaping company and went over some expectations, and they didn't change a few things, and so I had two other companies approached me, and we tried both of them and picked one of the two. So we're always looking to do a better job. We always try to look from a local standpoint because we support Tyler, and it doesn't do me a lot of pride in the fact that my produce comes from brothers out of Dallas, but there's not a produce supplier that's been approved for Chick-fil-A in Tyler, Texas, or in East Texas. Well, Dallas is the closest, so that's my choice, because if I run out of lettuce, we can't have a Chipotle situation. I have a situation that lettuce has to be sanitized, and it has already been inspected, and that vendor has already gone through all the check steps so that when you as a customer, you're going to get fresh, disease-free lettuce on your sandwich. The same thing with peanut oil. We've been using peanut oil since day one, since 46, 47. We're the world's largest user of peanut oil. It is so refined. In the 75 years, 0 reactions. We've never had a peanut allergy. And I've got a grandson that is highly, highly allergic. He carries EpiPens with him everywhere. But he's 9 years old and he's eaten at Chick-fil-A since he's day one and has never had a reaction. We use so much, but we're outstripping the world's supply, so we had to move to canola oil to cook the fries. another product, but not quite as good as the peanut oil, but the peanut oil is for the protein. All of our chicken is, but if I run out of peanut oil, I can't go to something called Sam's or Super One or Walmart. I can't go and buy peanut oil, because if I do, if I screw up, I was at a training meeting yesterday with Chick-fil-A, and I just mentioned Chipotle. They got some people sick, didn't they? Somebody died. The health person that told me at Chick-fil-A, you know how many people that actually were infected? But the news and information extrapolated that. They're not doing this and that, whatever, but that one operator ran out of lettuce and they went and bought something down the street. And so again, you got to be careful with your brand. You got to be protected. From a Chick-fil-A operator, I have two responsibilities, only two. I have to protect the brand, and I have to protect the recipe. Chick-fil-A has corporate people that come in and check Sheridan and me all the time. And then we also have third parties that come in and check Chick-fil-A and us all the time.
They literally take the sandwich apart on the tray and you try like every little bit of a fry, mixed with no salt. Like, it's very insensitive.
You know, our fries have got to be within this color range. The biscuits got to be within this color range. They got to be this high, not too short. The chicken has got to hit a palate. Our chicken, we're the largest user of breast meat in the world. And you look at how much of that chicken, all the rest of the chicken's got to go somewhere. You use a laser to cut the fillet, and all the rest of that becomes the nuggets. Not like all of our competitors that grind up stuff and dark meat and whatever, but it's the leftover breast meat is your nuggets. That's why they're all different shapes and sizes, big, small, and indifferent. When there was an avian flu problem 2 years ago and Russia and China shut off all imports of dark meat, which is big sales in those countries, the rest of that meat had to be consumed and used in America. If we're paying $3 a pound for the white meat and they're able to sell the rest of it for $1, now they can't. Well, now our price goes up because they grind the dark meat into chicken feed, hog food. And luckily, it's an equation that has to be done. Any other questions? Sir?
So from the customer standpoint, how do you recover from a listeria outbreak at Newbell, from a contaminated lettuce thing at Chick-fil-A, God forbid, something like that happens, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, I'm probably never going to eat there again.
Right. It's something that I would say that's been built into the culture. We're trying to do everything on the front end to keep it ever from happening. If we do everything that we're doing, we will avoid that. But we also have to prepare, what if there's a renegade out there and he's out of lettuce and I got all these things at TISD and I got to do it, and I go do something. There are protocols and plans and training and whatever you want to do, and I can guarantee you the circling of the wagons to correct and the PR people and put it all. You can't have enough Michelles that are articulate and look right and can talk right. You're going to have those folks in there trying to put out the fires, but you've got to own up to your mistake. We made a mistake. We thought we had protocols in place, we had processes in place, but apparently something fell through, and we're working to correct that. We don't ever want to lie. We want to be the truth, but I guarantee you're not going to see Jeff up talking to that guy or girl on the television station. It's going to be somebody that's given me a script what to say, because I've got to protect the brand. Because if I've screwed up here, it's not just Chick-fil-A East Texas, it's Chick-fil-A everywhere. And you look at how many years it's taken Chipotle to recover. And somebody called Jack in the Box. Yeah. They killed somebody out in Oregon, I think it was, with some E. coli, bad hamburger meat, which is a whole lot worse than the protein problems that you have in chicken. The beef stuff's a whole lot worse. But we have to have the protocols in place. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I have one more quick
Okay.
question. So, closing on Sunday, that's definitely making a stance for something. And I was just curious, so I sometimes feel like I have to eat Chick-fil-A in secret because I have a lot of lesbian and gay friends. And I know they kind of ran afoul of that organization. I was just wondering, not your point,
Okay.
but the company as a
when it came to the Chick-Fil-A weddings, I was really nervous
Yeah.
for that aspect of it. So I reached out, so Chick-fil-A's PR support, like a hotline call, and I said, okay, you know, I want to be respectful. How do I handle this if someone were to ask me? And they said, you know, you treat them like every other guest. And that's exactly what I would have done, but I wanted to know how to handle that to make sure that I did it correctly under brand guidelines. So when we had one of those posts went viral on Facebook in the month of June, and there was all this hate under it. So it was hard, really hard to read them and the brand all the hate mail and stuff like that. But, you know, Chick-fil-A would treat them the same like any other guest, and I think people would always see that. So that's kind of hard.
Yeah, I think they've done maybe not as good of a job as promoting what things have evolved or changed.
Right. And at the same token, Chick-fil-A has purposely looked at where they're investing time and energy and money, and there are examples within corporate and the Cathy family, which is a private family and a private company, how they're investing in some groups that were excluded, maybe not purposely before, but maybe they didn't know as much. In Orlando, I did not realize until I moved there and lived there for almost 6 years, Orlando, Florida is one of the most openly gay communities in America. And I mean tremendous gay rights parades and whatever. And I had at least 8 different individuals and or couples that visited me every morning. And I knew by just observations and whatever, something a little different. I never treated them any different. I spoke to them, sat down and high-fived and whatever it might be every time. But when the situation in, when was that, 2012 or whatever, when Dan Cathy out in California made his statement, said, well, my Bible says Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve and whatever. That's his personal belief. He brought it over into the corporation, and he can do that because his family owns the corporation. But he never said anything like that again. And again, allowing people to make their own decisions. We're about serving chicken. We're not about serving religion. We're treating everyone with honor, dignity, and respect. Follow back on that list. I had 4 of those openly gay people came up and talked to me and said, you know, we're going to stop coming. You know, we're going to have to quit coming here. I said, why? Because we're gay. I said, what does that got to do? We're selling chicken. They said, yeah, but your principles and the way you treat people. I said, hold it. When have you been mistreated? I treat everyone with honor, dignity, and respect. You had a party of a 90-year-old person's mother or father, whatever it was, a birthday. I showed up and we surprised and had a birthday celebration for them. They were hugging on everybody just like everybody else hugs on everybody, making the difference. We're about selling chicken. We're not about trying to make the distinction, whatever. We are a Bible-based company. Mr. Cathy would say, we're not a Christian company, we're a Bible-based company. We're closed on every Sunday so that everybody can have a day of rest and can choose, if they so choose, to worship at a church or synagogue of their choice. He was a Southern Baptist. He was a Christian. He happened to be a Southern Baptist. He taught a 8th grade boys group for 48 years. Strong, strong foundations. The whole family, again, there's 2 boys and a daughter. The daughter and her husband, John and Trudy White, have been global missionaries for over 50 years, investing in people's lives. Thank you for the question. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, as the Chamber of Commerce, who do I talk to about getting us a Chick-fil-A flavor?
This lady right here.
I don't have the screen.
We got a truck and trailer. That's about all I can do, but I got the people over in Athens and Chandler and Bullard, and they're all mad at us in that way. And I'm on the executive board of the chamber here, and yes, you know, they haven't done anything, but Chick-fil-A decides where they're going to put them. Every Chick-fil-A is paid for before they build it. It's a debt-free company, and they're looking at some expansion, borrowing some money to do that kind of stuff, but corporately decides, and I don't really know how.
Took them a while to get to the DFW. Don't worry, it will get there.
It is in California. They had to get special permission to do that one in the visitor center in Tyler, right? There was some special permission, because that's not a typical store.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, we run it just like our truck and trailer. We
Good
deliver
observation.
every hour. We deliver every hour from our restaurant for food quality purposes. We tend to
I think that's
sandwiches.
super cool that y'all are there.
It's pretty cool.
Well, what we call it, they're alternate distribution points, ADPs. And an ADP has to be temporary. It cannot be in a storefront. It cannot be a permanent location, and it cannot be a military installation. The petroleum building where we are is a storefront, and it's a permanent location, but it's not military. They made an exception for us, and I'm way out there on the limb and worked hard to do it, but you'll notice there's no signage. Ms. Carolyn does a fabulous job, but we cannot have any signage on that building if we're not there. So I would love to say, Henry Bell, I got to have this, and here's the convention and Visitors Bureau, but if we're not there selling chicken, we cannot have any signage. And it gets to dealing with the IRS and franchising tax and all this other kind of stuff. It's not a separate location, it's just a pop-up location. So it's being watched very closely. We're hoping that it's going to continue to grow, and in that building somewhere with Garnet and Andy, I can find a place for an inline store, and Chick-fil-A builds it and we run it.
I'll start calling.
That's what we would, yes, please do, please do. But for your question, continue to look at Chick-fil-A online, Chick-fil-A.com.
You can fill one out.
And you fill out a request.
They don't listen to our,
But I-
take one here.
Can we have you come to Glenwater one day, I don't know, every other
How
week?
far is it from here?
They work about 30 minutes.
Yeah, we can talk. Chick-fil-A watches food quality, so.
We have to, our food has to be served in the restaurant within 20 minutes. The Chick-fil-A sandwich, the filet, has to be consumed within 20 minutes. So timers are, if you're in my restaurants, you're hearing horns and all this. It's up, and so it's got to be held for 90 seconds to ensure that we've got it at 180 degrees or higher. After 90 seconds, we've got another, whatever that is, 17 and a half minutes to sell that sandwich, or we have to pull it off, go to the cooler, cool it to 70 degrees within 2 hours, cool it on down to 40 degrees in the next 8 hours, and then shred it for soup or for salads. If it's fries have got 5 minutes from the time that we serve them. The time I put them in the chute, they got 2 minutes. So they're cooking them here, they got 5 minutes whole time. If I put it in the chute, it's 2 minutes, then they get thrown away. So the philosophy, cook less, more often. We've got machines cooking all day long. All of our machines are washed and filtered. Our Henny Pennies, which is and Fryer, the other companies use them too. Ours are pressure cookers. So they go through 5 cycles. Then we have to push the oil down through a filter cake every 16 to 18 days. We recycle that oil. A recycler comes in and picks it up, and we use more oil. That's why we use so much oil, so much oil.
And when we're on like our food trailer, like today we're in Troop. They do 3 deliveries from the restaurant to Troop for food quality purposes, and then they tempt the sandwiches to make sure they're under 45 degrees or we can't serve them.
The one part about that I added to that, the trailer or ADP food's an hour and a half. So from the time that we have made it, it has to be sold within an hour and a half. Athens wants us to bring the trailer to them. That's 48 to 50 minutes an hour, no matter how fast I get there. So that means we've got 30 minutes to sell everything on the trailer. We just can't do it. So really 35 to 40 minutes distance is the maximum that we take our trailer. Now that there's a Lindell store, we won't jump over that Lindell store unless we talk to them about that situation. We're the only ones with a truck and trailer in Tyler. Now they bought one in Jacksonville, and then the Longview Mall operator's got a trailer operation, kind of mirror. They're trying to copy what she does because she does everything so well. Thank you so much. God bless you.